Hello, everybody. Welcome to Radio Sofia. I'm Kranti Nanduri, coordinator of Radio Sofia and a PhD student at IIM Calcutta, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. So Radio Sofia is a virtual platform to host academic and non-academic discussions on various socio-economic and political issues in India and abroad. It aims to facilitate a dialogue among researchers, activists, policymakers, and the general public situated in different corners of the world. In one such attempt, Radio Sofia today brings to you two brilliant guests from the world's second largest and the second most populous and culturally very vibrant continent of Africa, Mr. Boaventura Monjane from Mozambique and Mr. Lamine COULIBALY from Mali, to talk to us about the nature of agrarian transformation and peasant movements in Africa. Boaventura Monzane holds a PhD on postcolonialisms and global citizenship from the Faculty of Economics, University of Coimbra. He is based at the Institute of Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies at University of Western Cape as a postdoctoral researcher, and he's also a fellow of the International Research Group on Authoritarianism and Counter-Strategies of the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation. He was the staff member of the International Secretariat of Via Campesina for almost 10 years, and his research interests include agrarian social movements, rural politics, food sovereignty, and agroecology. And Lamine COULIBALY has a background of being a social communicator, and he's currently working with the National Coordination of Farmers Organizations in Mali. And he's also responsible for its communication program since 2007. He has also been the coordinator of West and Central Africa regions of Via Campesina since 2008 until now. And Boa and Lamine, thank you very much for accepting my invitation and joining us on a Sunday amidst your very busy schedules.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, Lamine.
Thank you.
Let's begin the session today by just introducing our audience a bit about Africa. So different parts of Africa. Africa is a huge continent with lots of countries. So if you can just give us a brief picture about the different parts of Africa, that would be great.
I'm speaking for, so Lamine and myself are located in two very different parts of the continent. I'm in Southern Africa. Lamine is in West Africa. Africa is Africa has 54 countries. 54 countries. Africa was an object of colonialism for centuries. European powers, specifically Britain, Portugal, France, as well as Spain, colonized the continent. So those colonial languages are also a characteristic of today's Africa, although they are not spoken by the majority of, at least in Southern Africa, Portuguese and English, although very well spoken, they are not spoken by the majority of the African population. So that means also that the process of colonization did not manage to kill or erase cultural, some cultural aspects were kept mostly due to the resistance of people, of course, no. And of course, there is a lot of languages in Mozambique. For instance, you have, every 100 kilometers, it's a new language, national languages. The colonial language, the Portuguese, help us communicate in a national establish a national-wide dialogue and communication, but it's not the only language. There are many other languages. And also within our countries, we have different cultural identity. It's a diversity of realities that actually challenge the idea, that Africa is one country or Africa is the same. Africa is as diverse as the universe itself. So I think from my side, to start the conversation, I will leave it there.
Okay, just to add something about what Boa said. I think he summarized very well the continent, but the continent, if we said Africa is the most colonialized continent through the world, if I can say, I can talk like this. As Boa said, we had in our country five international language: French, Portuguese, Spanish, and English, as he said. Also, the continent, the African continent, is the majority youth, okay, through the world. It is the continent which represents most of youth through the world. Also, the African continent is the richest continent through the world in terms of natural resources. This is the reason that African was most colonialized, if I can talk like this. In terms of resource, we have gold, diamond, biodiversity, iron, uranium, oil, etc., etc., etc. So very richest country, continent through the world. Also, in terms of organization, Africa, we have 5 regions in Africa. The North region, which concerns the countries of North Arabic countries. We have also the West African region, the Central region, the East region, and the South African region. So it can represent the country of this part of the continent.
That's a wonderful introduction for Indian audience. We'll move into our topic today, which is agrarian transformation and peasant movements in Africa. So can we just have also a picture of what is the current economic status or the economic status of the growth and development in these different parts of Africa, and what is the major role of the agriculture in this?
So I just presented the region
Yes.
in the continent, and I'm part in the West African region. So in the West African region, the economic issue, part of the agriculture in the economic issue, it's agriculture represents 30 to 50% in the GDP. So this means that agriculture represents most of important things in our region. So this is in what concerns my region. So as I said also, the most economic issue after the agriculture, I said that we have many natural resources. For example, in West Africa, we have gold, a lot of gold. This is an important issue in our side. Also, we have a lot of oil and livestock also. Livestock is very important in West Africa. So the pastoralists and so on and so on. So this is in our side, we say, we usually say that agriculture is the key, the key of the development in the region.
Boa, would you like to add something to what Lamine has said and give us?
Yes, I will, of course, definitely across the continent, throughout the continent, agriculture continue to be the sector that guarantees livelihoods of most of African people. It's not, as you might know, most of Africa is very agrarian. It's dominated by agrarian sector. We are mostly agrarian society, so land and agriculture, as Lamine said, it's very key. But I would like to talk about what has been happening, at least in Southern Africa, with agricultural policies that have been put on table by the states or by the governments. So it's important for you to understand that our countries are guided by a neoliberal compass. So our states have chosen an economical kind of model that is giving priority to capital, to private sector, and not to the citizens. Of course, all in the name of development. And land has been one of the targeted sectors by the private sector. Others would call it by the corporate sector. So we've been seeing a lot of land rush in the last 2 decades. And of course, the processes of occupying African territories is historical. But the new wave of the land grabs that we see now have been also, kind of influencing negatively on the livelihoods of people, because we saw, for instance, in Mozambique, we saw an arrival of companies from everywhere, right? Europe, India, Brazil, South Africa, getting leases from the state to occupy, huge size of land for cash crops, also for plantations, right? Eucalyptus and stuff like that, for what Via Campesina calls agrofuels, right? Which is jatropha and all of these things. And that has of course created a lot of land conflicts. So the peasantry has been losing land, and there's been a lot of problems with that. And it's in that context that I try to understand rural struggles and agrarian movements in the region, and I will talk about it as we continue.
Thank you, Boa. Actually, both this you have primary sector very much occupying the GDP and playing a key role in the economic growth process. So, what are some of the challenges that the peasant directly faces in this process, other than the land grabs?
Before going to the land issue, just to say that in our side, for example, in West Africa, the state set up, as Boa said, the political issue about agriculture, how they can organize, face to the challenges about agriculture. These policies has happened in 2008 because they set up in 2008, and because for many reasons. The first reason is the complementarity between the kind of production. You see, if we take the West African country, we have the same kind of production. So this is one important thing to say. The second thing is the diversity of natural resources. We share the same natural resources in West Africa. The third thing also, which can be reversed biodiversities and so on, so that we can share between the countries in West Africa. So in this context, it's very important to set up a policy that the country can follow to implement at national level and the international level, how we can be competitive through the rest of the continent and through the world. This is the important thing to see. So agriculture, it starts like this. The people are organized since from grassroots level, national level, regional level, and international level. So at each stage, we try to organize themselves to see how we can reinforce the capacities of the farmers to face the challenges they have. So coming to your question now, the big challenge that peasants face is the good implementation of the policies. It is a big challenge that we face now, because it is very easy for the state, for the countries to set up policies, but the implementation is a big problem. So this is a big challenge that we have now. And at this stage, people, the farmer try to sensitize. They try to advocate about through the government at national level and regional level, and sometimes at the international level, accompanied by some partners from international level to see how we can help to implement the policies. Because we have some good policies, but the problem is the implementation of these policies. This is the big challenge that the farmers are faces now in our side.
Boa, would you like to elaborate a little more on this issue?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, there is a lot of challenges. You know, one of them being rural unemployment. Because I mean, the agrarian question in Mozambique, for instance, let me put it in a more localized context. It's not only about people having access to land. In fact, having land only, it's not enough. You need to have a lot. You need to have you need to have a set of other elements that will actually make your land productive and will guarantee that your produce is actually distributed so it reaches markets and it will then generate income. But also you need other infrastructure, you need social services, essential services, you need you know, your children need school, you need hospital, you need roads, you need, and all of that, of course, are part of the challenges that the peasantry face. So of course, you know, I argue that the peasantry in Mozambique is part of the most excluded segment of the country, because of the issues that are directly linked to agriculture and farming, but also because they have been excluded to another, you know, aspects of national life, right? You know, services, opportunities, and all of these things. Yeah, I guess I've responded to your question. And of course, there is also a lot of issues related to their capacity or their ability to produce. For instance, seeds have been, you know, gradually difficult to get because, you know, the corporate sector is imposing, you know, industrial corporate seeds, and you know, irrigation is an issue. If there is no rain, it means that you know, so there are challenges that are directly connected to their activity as farmers, but there are other challenges that they face as citizens of countries that face, you know, a number of problems.
So the struggle or the conflict becomes central to understanding of this nature of agrarian transformation. It's not as though it is a smooth process. There's a lot of friction that happens in this process. So what is the nature of the struggle, the rural struggles, or what is the nature of the peasant movements in these places? Is it are there any organized peasant movements, or what is the agency of a peasant in this?
Yeah. So look, I've been looking at rural politics in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and South Africa a bit. More in Mozambique and Zimbabwe than South Africa, but I've tried to look at the issue in South Africa as well. And I try to explain the agency of the peasantry through looking at agrarian movements, so movements that exist, that are articulating at a national level. And what I've been trying to argue is that the agrarian movements in Southern Africa, they are a continuation of the liberation project that the country started. Of course, they've been abandoned by the national governments, so they're not included in national politics because they're seen as form of opposition to government. But I think I understand, you know, rural struggles as a continuation of a long historical process of liberation. And if you look very carefully, and if you analyze the discourses that that are put on table by the agrarian movements that exist, they're actually talking about, you know, national sovereignty. It's not a matter of me fighting to get a piece of land for me or my family. They connect it to a wider process of national liberation. It's just that they're abandoned by the state. They're not understood as such. And of course, if you pay attention of what they say, the alternatives they're trying to push for, they're actually challenging neoliberalism. They're actually challenging agrarian capitalism, and I think ideologically they are very strong. But of course, there is a lot of fragmentation. There is a lot of weakness in the organizing, because, you know, they're inserted in difficult national politics as well. But I think that they're doing a great effort of organizing locally, nationally, and as Lamine said, they all also connected to international platforms. The movements I'm looking at, particularly, they are part of Via Campesina, which is the largest transnational agrarian movement. But they also engage bilaterally with other agrarian movements, you know, in Brazil, in other countries, as well as internally in Southern Africa country. So I have also been arguing that probably South Africa can be an exception, but Zimbabwe and Mozambique, I think that rural organizations or rural movements or agrarian movements, whatever, or peasants movement, whatever you call them, they are the most progressive form of struggles I can see. And if you look at, for instance, trade unions and urban-based organizations, they are weak politically. They are weak. They're highly fragmented or co-opted. And I see some sort of more progressive politics emerging from agrarian movements. Of course, it's an argument that it's very difficult to accept because, you know, agrarian movements are perceived to be the peasantry in general is perceived to be backward, is perceived to not have class consciousness and all of these things. I'm proving the opposite. I'm saying, dude, we do have a lot of potential in the countryside, and yeah, that's what I've trying to argue.
Thank you, Boa. Lamine, based on your experiences in being a part of Via Campesina and also being part of this larger organization of coordinating the farmers in Mali, so what do you think does the picture look like? So first of all, if you can explain a little bit more to us, what is Via Campesina? What does it do? And how does your grassroots experiences shaped your ideas about the struggles and movements? That would be great.
Thank you, Garanti. Just before going to this question, let me say that if we take the issue of production, the most important thing is the land. After the land, we have the seed. And after the seed, we have the market. This is the most important state during the stage of production at the agricultural level. So, to guarantee the land to the farmers is a big challenge. It's a big issue. If you remember, I say that about the resource natural in Africa. Boa a little bit said talk about that, where African we saw during the past years some countries, some European countries coming in Africa to try to buy some land, peasant land. It was very difficult. It was very, very hard for the farmers because they saw some other countries, some other people coming to rush their land. So the important thing for a farmer is is land. If you take the land of the farmer, you die this farmer. So this is a big challenge that farmers are faces in our side. This is the reason that in our national policy of agricultural orientation, we put how we can, the government can guarantee the farmer land. Not all the land, but the farmer land, where the farmer grow, is very important. So it's important to secure this land. This is the reason we set up a policy and allow to guarantee the farmer land. It was a very interesting policy set up in Mali. So most of the country in West Africa try to disseminate the same opportunity, the same solution in their country. So many countries come to Mali to visit, to see how we find a way to elaborate this kind of policies. So it was a very interesting thing. So it means that we organized the farmers at the grassroots level to defend, to have many proposals. And this proposal was given to the government to see how we can make a good organization to secure the land of farmer. The one important thing that we can say this is the commission. We set up in this context, we set up some commission at village level, at the grassroots level, to solve all the problem, all the conflict against land at the village level. Because if the problem is solved at the village level, it's finished. Not necessary to continue at national level, because the problem is already solved at the village level. So this is the idea we set up. It was very interesting thing. So many countries in West Africa try to implement this same thing in the country. So after this, we try to organize people. I say that we are organized in grassroots level, national level, regional level, and international level. And in this context, in national level, farmers are organized in the national coordination of farmer organization. They are part of this big movement at national level. So this organization was set up to influence the policies, to defend the position of the farmers at national level against neo-colonialism, as Boa said. After that, we are part of some organization at a regional level. In the regional level, we have Europa. The Europa is the network of farmer organizations in West Africa. We have the same in each region of Africa, the 5 regions of Africa. So in West African region, we have this network which work also to influence the regional institutions like ECOWAS, like UEMOA, and so on and so on, to define the farmers at the regional level about the bad policies that they are implementing in the countries. And at the international level, there's the organization are part of La Via Campesina. La Via Campesina is this big movement, farmers movement through the world, which is implemented in almost all the continents, okay, to defend the small scale farmers in the country at the regional level, national level, and international level. So Via Campesina was set up in 1996. Okay, so it's almost 21 and 22 years. Okay, so we are organized through the world to fight, to defend the farmer, the small scale farmer, not the big farmers, but the small scale farmer, and the family farming. It is our slogan, the family farming, because we know that it is the family farming who give us the production which can help the population to So this is what we are organizing at the national level and the international level. And Via Campesina is doing a big job. It's a big job to defend the population, the farmers' population at each level. It was a big issue for us, for the farmer, to have voice for the world to defend their position. So I can say also to La Via Campesina, farmer can talk right now. Farmer can talk at United Nations because to defend their position. They can be to IFAD, to FAO, to human rights at the United Nations. So it was very, very helpful for the family to defend the position, to have voice through the world.
So my next question comes, now that we have progressed to talking about the global politics and the relation between the local peasant and the global politics, also looking at how struggles shape this relationship. So what do you think is the impact of the international political scenario, especially when we're talking about the food security in Africa, or, so when we are trying to address this regimes, how does the resistance look like, or what are the issues that that are shaping the current scenario in the rural politics, or especially rural agrarian politics?
Give you a quick reflection from my side. In the last decade or so, agrarian policies around the world were becoming too much. At a global scale, agrarian policy will become too much neoliberal, and there were international arrangements that were making sure that happens. WTO, to some extent, the FAO, although the FAO has multiple kind of there are segments at the FAO that are progressive and work with peasants organization, but there is also a neoliberal agenda within the FAO, and also another big organizations that were actually lobbying national states to open up for agrarian capital to penetrate, and of course there was a need to have a global response to that, right? In fact, Via Campesina was formed as a way to respond globally to a trend that was actually happening at a global scale. And of course, there's been a lot of good impact that transnational organizing have produced within the FIO itself. It was possible, for instance, to have the voluntary guidelines of within the FAO. You might be reminded that 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, the UN has approved a declaration of rights of peasants and people working in rural areas. And in some countries, we had, a good policy shift that benefits, the poor segments of the agrarian sectors, which is small-scale farmers or family farmers, as Lamine put it. So, of course, the struggle is still there. There is a lot of things to be done, especially at national level, but a global response was needed, and a global synergy was created. And I think Via Campesina, for instance, has managed to be, in my view, the most progressive, largest form of internationalism, right? That exists today. And of course, there are different moments where Via Campesina is more visible. Other moments, it's silent. But it has been very key in shaping agrarian politics globally, and of course the impact of that you can see in various places in the world where, you know, huge developments that would be inimical to the peasantry was defeated. I will give you an example of Mozambique, where you know, there was a proposal to implement a program, a capitalist agrarian program in Mozambique, in the northern part of the country, through a program that was called Pro Savannah. Basically, the idea was to replicate what happened in Brazil, in the Cerrado areas of Brazil in early 70s, in which, you know, Japan and Brazil put together a massive monocultural kind of model, growing mostly soya beans. And you know, that project is considered to be a success, you know, by the neoliberal discourse, but it has created a lot of problems. It has produced landlessness. It has destroyed biodiversity. It has you know, affected the livelihoods of a lot of people. Brazil is a very populated country, right? And they wanted to implement that in Mozambique, and of course, there was a transnational campaign to fight Pro Savannah. Of course, it had its national social base strong, but it was also the international solidarity and the pressures that were done outside Mozambique that allowed Pro Savannah to be defeated, and it was defeated. So you need to organize locally, but you need to, you know, organize internationally as well, because the enemy is becoming articulated, you know, like, you know, corporate power is concentrating power, and at the end of the day, you are fighting one guy, or you are fighting the same guy. So it's important to organize internationally, and I think as I said, Via Campesina has done a great job.
Thank you, Boa. Lamine, would you like to?
Yeah. I think Boa was very clear about that. What I can say, just to know that it is the reason what the organization was created, the farmer organization was created. They was created to defend the interests of the farmers. So this is an important issue to see how the policies happen at national level can be implemented at a grassroots level. So it is a very important issue, because we try to see how we can maintain, how we can resolve this problem happen on land issue, on the seed issue, because as I said, we have many policies. The government set up many policies at the national level. So, but sometimes they didn't take account the reality of the grassroots level. At the grassroots level, this is a big challenge, a big issue that we are facing now. So it is very important as a farmers organization to follow the implementation of these policies, to see in the reality if during the implementation of these policies, if the grassroots level are taken in count. This is the important thing, because the experiences in our side, we see that many people at the government level, they stay in their office, they create, or they elaborated some policies for the farmers without discuss with the farmer at the first time. It is a big issue, so that we farmer organization, we want to defend this, and we want to avoid this kind of elaboration of the policies. So this is the reason that we want to have to be part during the elaboration of each policies at national level, regional level, and international level for the farmers. One example, concrete example, is the elaboration of the voluntary guideline. I don't know if you know this policy, the voluntary guideline against land and natural resources, which was adopted at FAO level. It was start at grassroots level. It was a proposal made by the farmers' organization to see how the rule of the natural resources can be organized very well in each part, and make sure that farmer organization can be part of this organization. This is the reason that we propose to the United Nations to elaborate a policies. This was the reason that the voluntary guideline was elaborated again late to see how how the countries can secure the land and the resource natural at the level. Of course, it is not a law, as we said, but it is a proposal. It is a proposal. For example, in Mali, we take account during the elaboration of our national law on the farmers' land. We take this document in consideration, and we try to see how we can save from this document, from this international policies, to implement or to adapt in our national law. So it was a good issue. It was a good proposal. We find the way to adopt a good law against or to secure farmers' law. So at this stage, Via Campesina did very well. Did a good job about that, about the organization of the farmers, because for Via Campesina defined the farmers.
But how do you like to locate the struggles around the land, and especially the rural politics? So what is the relationship between them, and how does the picture look like? And also, how are the alternative livelihood opportunities look like? So other than the agriculture or the livestock or agriculture and allied activities, how does the other non-agrarian opportunities look like, and how does that shape the rural growth, or also even rural politics for that matter? Yeah, Bo.
Yeah. See, there was a process of deindustrialization that's happened at least in Mozambique, in Zimbabwe as well. Like the process of industrializing our country stopped precisely because of the neoliberal triumph, and institutions such as the World Bank and IMF they imposed our states to prioritize some areas of the economy and not others. So you do not have urban-based jobs. You do not have urban-based job. To be a peasant, it's not a matter of a choice. Sometimes, or most of the times, it's the only activity that will allow you to get some income or to secure some livelihoods. So when land is taken away, people have to go to urban areas. They become urban dwellers, and they involve themselves in precarious activities that dehumanize them. So I would say that the struggle for land, sorry, the struggle the struggle against land grabbing. It's ultimately a struggle for dignity, for human dignity, right? And of course, I mean, people are free to. I guess a lot of rural people would like to move to cities and get other opportunities, especially because the countryside is not has been neglected in terms of infrastructure. So there is that attraction that urban areas can do, but there is nothing they cannot absorb in terms of job absorption. They cannot be absorbed anyway. So as I said, the struggles for land is actually to guarantee a livelihood, but it's also to guarantee national sovereignty, because land is not only a matter of an economic resource only. That element is very important. Let's not romanticize about it. It's very important, but it has other dimensions. Belonging, ceremonial, whatever. So the connection that people have with land is beyond the Western understanding of means of production. And I'm not sure if I'm actually answering your question. But the thing is, the struggles, the rural struggles that have been identified are, of course, to expel agrarian capital, and to transcend towards an agrarian reality that is more democratic, just, and can allow people to live their lives in dignity, and proposals such as food sovereignty and agroecology, not always termed that way, by the way, but ideas that are more close to what Via Campesina calls agroecology and food sovereignty are there in the proposals that people, that agrarian movements present.
Thank you, Bo. Actually, you did answer my question, and you've given a very, very wonderful explanation. And we have 7 minutes more, and also there's one question which I would like to take from the audience.
So thanks, Kranti, for organizing such a insightful discussion over the agrarian transformation and the agrarian movement in Africa. My question is basically like, for instance, in India, the basis of land control historically is caste. So is there any specific institution that set the basis of land control in Africa? Or
okay, thank you.
We don't have the caste dimension in Africa. I would say it's mostly class and gender that dominates, and of course we also have in some parts of the continent we also have groups of people that are wrongly called indigenous. I mean, who is not indigenous in Africa? But there are some parts of Africa where certain communities have kept their ancestors' way of living, and normally they stay in beautiful areas in terms of rich on water, forests and stuff like that, and they've been expelled as a group, right, by national politics, national elites and international corporations. So the nature of the agrarian structure in most of at least in Southern Africa, I don't want to talk about Africa as a whole, is today dominated by those who have money, those who are in high political positions and stuff like that. And internally within the communities themselves, it's likely to be men who will control land and stuff like that. But agrarian movements have also addressed that. Put it clear that we are not fighting here against agrarian capital only. We are also fighting our own unhealthy social relations and relations of production, patriarchy, and some traditional leaders, they also can abuse their position to exclude people, mostly women, from accessing land and stuff like that. But I will hand over to Lamine, because I think West Africa has also its own specificities.
Thank you, Boa. Thank you, Boa. I think we have sometime the same kind of management of the land in West Africa, but we have many speculation also in West Africa about the land issue. For those who have much money, so they can buy many land and they can sell later, after. So it is a big issue that we have in West Africa. So this is the reason that the farmers' organization try to say, if we continue on that way, they will have no land for farmers to grow. So this is the reason that we advocacies to our government to set up a policy or some policies or a law to protect the farmers' land, because the farmers' land is the place where they grow. if the government or if the richest person buy all this land, where the family will go? This is the big question. So this is the reason that the farmers' organization try to advocacy to avoid that issue. About the management of land, in West Africa, it's different from country than another one. For example, in Mali, we say that if we take in consideration the text, the policies, we say that all the land is for the government, for the state, the country. So, but if we say that in the reality, it is not all. It is not true. The land is for the community because the community grow on the land. So if we try to generalize this land at national level, it is a big issue. This is the reason that in our law against farmers' land, we say that to make the difference between the land, the government land, and the community land, because all the problem, all the conflict against land came from the community level, the grassroots level, because at national level there are no land. For example, the government has no land. All the land is in the village. So this is the reason to make sure to protect the farmers' land. We are proposed in our law, in our policy, to set up some commission. We say that we say that farmers commission at village level. So this farmers commission is the responsible to manage all the conflict in the village level. So to avoid that, the conflict can become national or regional level. So this is a solution that in Mali we solve, and we are trying to reinforce the capacity of this commission, because for the role, for the management of the community, to be part to the commission, we try to see in the village who is the chief of the village, who is because in our side, in our culture, we have the responsible of the land in the village. In our culture, it is not the same in some countries. We have some people which is the responsible of the land in the village. So there's person, they nominate one person to be part in the commission. After that, we see the representative of the woman in the village, the representative of the youth also in the village, and the representation of the old person in the village be part to the commission, so that the commission is more or less representative by all the most important person in the village to statuate on the conflict. So, for example, if we take also the example in some countries like in Togo or in Benin, the land was managed by the community, not by the government. And the government cannot go to the community to take a land. It is impossible. So this is the reason that we try to articulate, to create this synergy between the important issue to manage the land. Just to finish on this point, it was a reason also we set up a global convergence in West Africa, a global convergence to fight against land and natural resources. It is all the country in West Africa be part. We have some organization in all the country in West Africa. So they organize some activities to see how the government can manage on the best way the land in this country. So this is how we can organize about the management of land in our side.
Thank you, Lamine. And so now we have come to the end of the session, and I give both of you just a couple of minutes to give your ending remarks, concluding remarks, and then we can end the session. So Boa, can you?
Yeah, I'll be brief. Since we are talking to an Indian audience, it will be wrong not to mention that India capital, not Indian people, but Indian capital has been also very has been penetrating the countryside of this continent in a very problematic way. For instance, in Mozambique, you have like the Indian state-owned consortium called International Coal Ventures. You might know it. And Jindal, I think Jindal, you know them because it's one of the big, capital,
Yes.
mining capital in India. So they've also arrived in Mozambique and expelling communities, doing mining in forms that are not accepted anywhere in the world today, in terms of protecting people from getting the dust and stuff like that. And this informs us that the issue of land grabs, land grabs or grabbing African lands, agricultural lands, is not an issue that is being. I mean, it's not a thing that is being done only by the former imperial economic powers. It has also the participant and involvement, the participation and involvement of problematic companies from Brazil, India, and stuff like that. So to conclude, I would like to say that Indian people should also name and shame your bad boys, and show the harm they do elsewhere. I know they do it a lot in India as well, but they also expand that to other areas. And thank you, Kranti, for this opportunity. I hope we can continue to engage. And thanks, Lamine, for
Definitely.
being here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Boa. That's, I think, a very important point that you've mentioned, where, in fact, the fight is against the capital, the global capital, whichever country it comes from. So it's very much understandable, and I think it's a wonderful point that you've made. Lamine, would you like to quickly give your concluding remarks and then?
Yeah. I was very happy to share my experiences and to the audience, your audiences in Indian level, because it is a very different culture. So I say that in the beginning that Africa is a richest continent with most with the important natural resources. I think this is the reason that African are many conflicts because the European countries, which is the colonizers, continue to colonize Africa because they want the riches of Africa at many levels, gold, oil, land, and so on and so on. Because there are no land in their countries, there are no more natural resources there. So the only way for them is to come to Africa to destroy African to their resource natural. This is the reason that in Africa we have many conflicts. I know that many of your audience ask them this question: why there are many conflicts in Africa? This is one of the reasons, because they are the European countries continue to create conflict because it is the reason for them, because there are the interest there. So this is the reason that we are facing now. So it is important to see how we can help, or how we can see together, African, Indian, and so on, to see how we can face to the danger we have facing now regarding the seed issue, regarding the land issue, regarding the other policies that exploit farmers in the opportunities. So it is very important for us to see how we can accompany them because they need our accompaniment at grassroots level, at national level, at international level, because there are no voice, and we need to put their voice on behalf to the high level, so that all the problems they are facing now can be solved or can be find some way to be solved. This is our job, and we continue to fight as national coordination of farmer organization in Mali and as a Via Campesina to have a good policies for the farmers, to implement this good policy, because elaborate a policy and implement this policy is different. And all the problem we have now is that. So it is important to help us to accompany the farmers organization at Indian level also, because we have many farmers there, and to help them to have good policies, to reinforce the capacities, because they can feed the world, continue to feed the world. This is what I can say. And thank you so much for your audience, for you also and Boa to be here.
Thank you.
It was a very big pleasure for me to participate also.
Thank you very much, Lamine.
Sometimes it is a bit complicated because the accent, Indian accent, when you talk English, it's a little bit difficult for us to understand.
Yeah, I think this problem persists for all the non-native speakers like us. But it was fantastic. I mean, both of you have helped us to understand the complexity of the issues at multiple layers, and also we have sort of pinned down the importance of peasant movements in understanding the whole agrarian transformation, because I think it's very important to understand the struggle that is surrounding the land, the land issue, or the capital, the labor, gender, and different social institutions, how they come together and shape the nature of agrarian transformation in Africa. I think both of you have together presented in a wonderful fashion. Thank you very much for joining us, both of you.